Okay. We are recording. And I'm going to start with a screen share of our current situation. After a 2-day journey west and north from Saltwall, the heroes of Rayuna have arrived at what appears to be what they think is the lair of the River King.
That's the next cave over.
Yeah, right.
Spider King's cave.
After a kind of dangerous encounter in the woods, and a risky traversal of some slippery, wet ledges, our 5 intrepid adventurers, Kaiviki, Taimi, Muirin, Tapias, and Anika, find themselves on a piece of wet, muddy land surrounded by mist. I think visibility is probably about 60 feet before things get just so foggy. And you had just kind of reached this spot and saw the cascade, the curtain of water coming down from multiple ledges up above, falling across down this cliff face. There's a place kind of between 2 of these cascades where there is a large natural opening. I think I said it was like 20 or 30 feet high. And after noticing that, you also noticed past that a spider about 1.5 feet in diameter crawled out onto the ledge, caught the wind with its parachute, and was swiftly punctured by an arrow from Taimi, and then drifted off to fertilize some distant patch of land.
Hunter got a hunt.
So that's where you find yourselves, crouched in the underbrush, not soaking wet, but pretty damp. And I just want to make sure that everybody's checked in on their gear. That everybody is like on our kind of shared sheet there, that we know what you got.
I didn't write anything on a shared sheet. I just have it in front of me.
Okay,
but I can...
great. Yeah, we talked about that. How you have your multiple different loadouts or whatever. And we decided that Tapias and Anika, we know what they're armed with, and they are also carrying, I think they're carrying adventuring gear. Is that right?
Yeah. Is that?
If it's on the sheet.
Okay, thank you.
As we talked about, yeah.
Great. And it is, gosh, I think the sun has not been up very long. It's still early morning, because you guys actually had planned to get here sort of just before the crack of dawn. And the River King is nowhere to be seen currently, but you did hear him earlier, apparently heading in, downstream from you. So you don't think he's nearby. And the rush of the water is loud but not deafening, so you can hear each other speak, but you do have to kind of raise your voices to be heard.
And you said we were on like a muddy island?
Yeah.
So we went across the cliff, and I guess is that this island like in an upper part of the water than the lower part that we would have had to swim through, or? Yeah,
so if you picture, let me just draw on here on the map.
Yeah.
I do actually, well, I'll just give you the big picture. So let's say this is the cliff that the water's falling down.
Yeah.
And then the river, so the cascades coming down the cliff, and the river kind of flows off in this direction. And it's wide, it's pretty wide. It's got multiple streams, and it's broken up by various islets. So you guys started over here, you climbed up on a ledge, and you crossed over, and then came down on a little piece of land like here.
Oh.
So you're at the foot of the cliff. The river itself goes, further and wider, but this is the point where you found this cave opening.
Okay.
Is that clear? So the water's all flowing this way.
And we came down to the island because that's the only way we could go at that moment.
That's right. Yeah, the ledge kind of stopped and you had to kind of climb down, and that's when you saw
Got it.
the opening.
Okay.
The opening from where you are on the island is like, it's like here.
Right. So we would climb back up on the ledge to a little bit to get up into that cave, theoretically.
From where you are, so the cliff wall kind of goes right into the water, right where you are, and actually the land you're on goes right up to the cliff wall.
Yeah.
So you're probably, well, might as well just show you the other map that I have prepared. Are you seeing that, or do you need it? No, you're not seeing that.
No.
Okay.
I'm getting it though. I live next to some water, some dams and stuff, and lots of islands. Whoa.
Okay. So this is a little more of a. This may give you a hint of what lies ahead. So you guys are here, and the opening is here.
Yeah.
So there actually is. This is right here. Is a little bit, so you had to kind of come down and walk from this direction. And this right here is a little bit of a ledge that goes up to, this is where the water is spilling out of the cave. There's actually, I guess I wasn't clear about that before. The cave opening itself, there's water pouring out of it, right? It's like creating its own kind of mini waterfall. This is like a 5-foot high ledge right at the mouth of it that the water is kind of spilling over.
Is there a dry spot where the spider climbed out onto?
The spider climbed out right here.
Did it come out of the cave?
You basically noticed it moving and you weren't sure where it came from.
Oh.
But when you look in that direction, so the cliff face kind of curves around like this. It's kind of, the rock is uneven and there's these vertical striations in it, and there's kind of folds in the rock, I should say, and like shadowy kind of pockets that could possibly be some kind of opening. That is possible. From this distance, it's a little hard to tell, but it's certainly possible that there's openings in that over there in that area.
And there's many more falls higher up?
Yeah, it's not clear from this drawing, but falls are coming down on either side of the cave. And then there's this other big area of land here, and the cliff continues around, and there's more falls like over here.
Right.
And you guys went through a bunch over on this side.
Okay.
So there's it's like the falls, there's curtains of water on either side of the cave mouth. The cave mouth itself does not have water falling across it, but it has water pouring out of it.
Wow.
All right, so that's what you see. What do you do?
Should we climb up there and peek our heads in?
Yeah.
Can I try to sense danger if that's the
Woohoo!
move
Is
that
that
I
what you
take?
chose?
I did.
Nice. I was kind of hoping you would.
I was like, how can I be helpful?
That's awesome.
I think your poison has certainly been very helpful in the past. Can you read the text of the move?
When you consider a situation, however briefly, you may spend 1 cunning to force the judge to tell you if any threat is imminent and from whence it will come.
Yes, you can totally do that. So
Okay,
Mirren, can you describe to me, what does it look like when Mirren, maybe it doesn't look like much, but what does it look like when Mirren kind of is doing that?
Me describe?
Yeah, just like, it could be just like there's a moment where you pause and kind of look this way and that way, or I'm just curious, when we get that shot of Muirin, like, is it just kind of like a kind of peering around? Is it like a tuning in?
Yeah, it's definitely like the zoning into like actively trying to like listen for something or feel.
Do you ask other people to be quiet, or are you able to? Do you feel like you can just do it even though people are talking and stuff?
I think that people can talk, but it does help if they're quiet.
But you are able to kind of
Yeah.
tune out. You can sort of tune out the known noise and focus on whatever else is out there.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
I guess sort of like an alert dog.
And Muirin feels that there is no threat imminent.
Can I ask a question too?
Yeah.
Don, I wonder if do you conceive the danger sense as being any kind of like elvish intuition of something like a sense that humans don't have or something like that?
I think,
Not
I think maybe it's easier. It might be easier for them to like attune to what's around them. But are you asking because possibly Paibiki wants to learn?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
He wants to learn everything, but no, I'm just curious. I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about like elephants who can hear in the subsonic frequency. And I was like, oh, maybe elves can, or maybe certain elves, maybe she can tap into something that, just isn't available to everybody. Not necessarily sound, not just sound, but like some other,
Right.
I mean, if it's danger, it could come in lots of forms, right?
Yeah, right.
Right. And I do wonder, like, even if it was like subsonic, like, it's possible that there's like something that's not sound, but can have like an after effect that can be picked up via sound or something like that.
Yeah, sure.
But
John, what did you pick?
I guess I'm gonna do smash. When you revel in battle and strike hard, you may burn 1 strength to make your attack forceful and permanently reduce your target's armor by 1d4.
Ooh, wow.
Which will be just an added effect.
Yeah.
These effects from revel in battle are really, really good. We need to start using them more.
Cool. So Muirin tunes in, and you feel the water. I guess maybe with your Elvish background, there's a connection to the natural world. I mean, everybody has that to some degree, especially in this kind of setting, but maybe elves a little more so. And you sense the river flowing naturally and peacefully, and this is the kind of thing where like you could totally tell if you felt like somebody was watching you, for instance, and you don't have any sense like that, or that there's anything bad about to happen.
okay. And it's dark, right? So
It's light at this point, but it's kind of misty. There's so much mist that the sun's having a hard time fully penetrating, so it's kind of like a dim, everything's kind of dim and kind of almost glowing just from the sunlight.
I wouldn't mind seeing if there is another exit, if there's another egress, just in case Papa comes home and we need to go out another way.
Yeah. And also, that river, I mean, that entrance might be hard for us to walk up if the river's flowing through there. I don't know.
Yeah, where it pours over the rock, you know, it looks like it's several inches deep at that point. But yeah, who knows how deep it is further in there.
Right.
Yeah.
So should we walk up there and take a peek in and then?
Keep moving along that cliff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say. Yeah.
Okay. So is this the correct, am I understanding that right?
Mm-hmm.
Climb up on that ledge, move over there. Okay. And we are in the previously established marching order, which I believe was Muirin in the lead, Paiviki, Anika, Topias, and Taimi in the rear. Do you guys want to adjust that at all, or is that good?
It's fine.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
And everybody should note what they have literally in their left and right hands. Not literally like in your life right now. Your character, you need to know. So just tell us real quick, what's in your left hand and your right hand? Muirin, how about you?
Spear and then shield in the other.
Okay, so you got your spear and your shield. So you guys, so there's like a scramble up on this ledge and everybody kind of like gets ready. So you get your spear and your shield out, and then next in line is Paiviki.
I've got my spear in my right hand and the rope in my left hand that I was carrying before.
Did you say rope?
Well, we were all holding onto a rope.
Yeah.
So if we're letting go of the rope, then she's got nothing in her left hand.
Oh yeah, that's a great question. Is everybody still holding on to the rope, or are you gonna sort of recoil that and have one person carry that?
I think how's the cliff looking?
To cross the ledge itself that you're on is not super slick and slippery. Crossing, if you're gonna cross this water that's flowing out several inches deep, pretty strong flow, that looks like it could be a little risky, but it's a 5-foot drop into what looks like not onto hard rocks, so the fall would probably not be damaging.
Yeah, I think we can omit the rope.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So spear and coil of rope?
Spear and nothing.
Okay.
I think Muirin takes the rope back. Is that your rope?
Sure.
Okay.
I think I had, yeah.
Yeah, so make a note of that. Great. And then Anika has crossbow and chainmail. Was that how? Yeah, I think that's probably.
Yeah.
And Topias, same deal.
I would assume that he would be hatchet, torch.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're getting torches out. Awesome. So Topias will be your your light source.
Yeah.
Yeah. We probably don't need to light it just yet, but
yeah.
That's a good thought.
Okay, so he's got his hatchet and torch, and then bringing up the rear is Taimi.
Crossbow.
With the crossbow.
Although, do we want the clumsy teenager carrying the torch?
Okay, so you get up to the waterfall, and you peer in, and in the light of the sun. See if this is working. Is that working? It is working. So you can see back in about that far. So that's about 20 feet, and then it's just too dark for you to see further. You know, if it was like totally dark, your elf vision might kick in, but because it's light outside and dark inside, you can only see this far. The water, so peering around that corner and just judging from the darkness of the water, it looks like the water does get deeper further in, like that there's perhaps over millennia, the water has worn out a kind of scoop or bowl in the water and then flows out over this lip that you guys are standing right at. And further in on the right, you see this lighter colored, that's actually like a ledge that's roughly equivalent to the height of the ledge you're on right now in the side of the cave. Yeah, so you see, to get to that ledge, you'd have to swim through what looks like kind of deep water that's flowing out to get to that ledge in there.
Mm-hmm. Should we continue across like we talked about?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to cross cross the mouth of the cave. Is anybody helping Tapias?
I've got my arm out ready to catch him.
Okay. Well, let's have Annika do that, because it goes Muirin, Paiviki, Annika, Tapias. So we'll have Annika sort of, not rolling her eyes, but just like, okay, this, Tapias might need a little assistance here. But Paiviki will roll for that. And Taimi, are you helping also?
Topias? Sure.
Yeah, just keeping an eye just in case he slips.
Yeah, I don't, yeah.
Okay, so Paiviki can roll for that, and it's just 2d6 with 2 people helping is +2.
I got an 11, so 13.
Okay. All right. So there, Annika looks back at him, and Taimi's right there, and he looks at both of you and just like makes a gesture like, I can do this. It's okay. And he steps, each footstep, there's like a huge sort of torrent of water around your ankles as you cross, and carefully stepping so that, the water's flowing fast enough where it's not like there's moss or anything making it extra slick, but it is slippery rock. So you carefully do that, and you manage to get to the other side. And when you get to the other side, you see, I guess his Muirin is in the front. So you get to this point of the ledge, everybody's across. There's an opening in the rock. Let's see, there we go. There's an opening in the rock. Wait, is there an opening in the rock? It's hard to do this without. Wait, no, sorry, that's solid rock. Looks like it's solid rock. It's hard to do this without seeing what's underneath. But when you look across, you can see here, now that you're closer and the mist is not as obscuring, there's definitely an opening down here, right here. And you notice markings, white markings, clearly made by some creature, not natural markings like looks like maybe chalk, or maybe it's painted with lime, but there's some like white markings on the rocks there that you can't really tell what they are until you get closer.
Is it papa-sized?
Is the cave hole papa-sized?
Yeah.
No, the cave hole, there's no way Papa could fit in this cave. It's roughly, it looks like a natural opening, and it's maybe 5 feet across by 6 or 7 feet high.
I mean, that's huge. And it just shows how big he is. He's a tractor trailer. Could he fit in the one that we just crossed?
Absolutely.
Okay. I like the looks of that. Let's go investigate the writings.
So
should we cautiously make our way around the cliff?
Okay.
Yeah, I want to be specifically looking in the water for any of those like alligator type things.
Okay. So you got an eye. Why don't you find answers to see if you notice anything or any sign of anything in the water?
Is that wisdom or intelligence?
In your case, it's wisdom to sense or discern, intelligence to recall or study. So you could actually use either one, depending on.
Okay, well, I'll do wisdom then. I want to work that one up eventually. Although, surprise, surprise, I rolled a 10, -1 is 9.
All right. The judge's answer is cryptic or incomplete, but they'll tell you how to learn more. You basically would have to spend some time quietly. As a hunter, you know that the best way for wildlife to reveal itself is if you just make yourself part of the landscape for a period of time and be quiet and still and watch. So right now you're not getting any sign that there's anything in there, but to learn more, you'd have to play the hunter.
Okay. No, then we'll just continue.
Okay. So as you get closer here, Muirin, still in the lead, the cave mouth itself is outlined in a rough smear of white, chalk, or, well, I guess it's not chalk, but it's probably lime, some kind of calcified mineral mixed with water, and it's smeared in kind of a rough line around the cave. In fact, it looks to you like it was smeared. You can see the fingerprints, like somebody's hand used to kind of roughly smear this outline around the cave. And then there's, all around like waist and knee level for you guys, there's a number of white handprints all around the cave. And there are a couple of crudely drawn, not a couple actually, there's maybe like a dozen crudely drawn skulls that look like, like this kind of thing, right?
Humanoid.
Yeah, it looks like humanoid skulls, like kind of crudely scrawled. And then there's markings, there's markings that you can't really make any sense of, that don't mean anything to you, but they appear to be, there's some kind of possible symbolism going on, but you're totally clueless about what it might mean.
How big are the handprints?
So Taimi kind of approaches and takes a little closer look there.
Yeah, I feel like this would fall in her wheelhouse of like tracking, and you can tell how big an animal is by how big its tracks are.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like if these were human hands, they would be the size of an adolescent.
So does that track with like Venati size?
Yes, but not as Venati are, generally speaking, sort of stocky folk. These are thinner.
Okay.
Like more kind of attenuated fingerprints.
I share that with the team.
Yeah.
I wonder if they could be the handprints of, what was the name of the creature that we met at Isomat's cave? The
Onikas.
Onikas, yeah. The Pico.
The Pico. Yeah. I wonder if they could be Pico handprints.
We don't know where the Pico come from, do we?
There aren't any around. I mean, they're not unheard of around Rayuna, but yes, you don't know, like if there's a land that they call their own or anything like that.
Yeah, all we know is that they couch crash in caves with monsters. That's their one defining racial trait. Species trait, whatever. Yeah, this could be a warning. This could be, a record of who else has attempted what we're doing right now.
I have to wonder with the River King if he is either the part of the land here, the animals, or if there's anyone who considers him their god in this area.
This connection just like hit Taimi, like thinking about the Pico and Isomat, and now seeing these handprints. What if the creature is being controlled? this might be this. I mean, we were kind of I was half joking about Onikas being in here. But what if, just like with Isomat, there's some other creature using the River King to search for things?
Is this is Taimi actually saying this?
Unless you think that this connective tissue is beyond her. It's very hard
because
to
it's
play.
about
It's very hard to play an unwise character.
Well, wisdom is what's Taimi's intelligence?
8.
Yeah, so I mean, you can totally draw conclusions and you can cause and effect, and wisdom is more like, it's willpower and like a kind of sensitive perception of other people, and you totally have and also it makes complete sense because, like, in your limited experience, there was a monster in a cave and there was a Pyko.
Yeah.
So here,
Yeah,
if this is more Pyko and there's a monster in a cave, then it totally makes sense that Taimi would see that connection, right?
Yeah. Then I do say it. Yeah, if we feel that it would be in character, I do say it.
Well, I mean, that's ultimately, if it's in character, that's totally up to you.
Oh, sure,
Yeah.
but within the ability of my character.
Yeah, I would say so.
We don't really know the character of this River King. All we know is that he throws rocks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's possible he may not even care that we're in his cave.
Yeah, and we don't even know. I was not able to ascertain what he seeks. He could seek giant crawfish from under the rocks for all we know. The stories of Ashnish could be exaggerated, and the stone could have been found after an avalanche of a hillside.
In the far distance.
Who's okay? I was hearing an echo.
Yeah, no.
We should probably let's move in. Let's start seeing what there is to be seen.
Into the cave?
Yeah, so we're cool with that?
Well, I guess while we're moving in, can anyone just remember what the Pyko hands looked like that you could sort of guess?
When the question is raised, these could certainly be, when you imagine, geez, what if Onikas put his hand on this wall? I'm trying to think. I think the person who probably paid the most attention to Onikas's hand was Kosti, actually. Now that I think of it. But Paiviki's got some brains, right? And Weirin, you're not dumb, like in terms of remembering stuff.
Yeah.
You could both easily imagine these being the right size for Onikas.
Okay.
Cool.
So with Weirin in the lead, carefully stepping into the darkness of this cave, Topias lights the torch. Anika puts her foot in the stirrup of her crossbow and pulls it up. She wasn't actually just walking around ready to spring, so she gets her crossbow ready, and Topias holds the torch high so the light will pass past the people in front of him, and you step forward into this cave. The cave goes forward about 20 feet, and then it so this is a natural, really rough, there's places where you kind of have to lean up against one wall to get past a chunk of rock that's coming down, and then Weirin, you see that it descends in a couple of there's some rough, broad, basically sort of steps or ledges that just sort of descend down. So the cave continues, but it descends as you head forward. And as you guys, as Taimi, you take one last look around before you step into the mouth of the cave. And when you're all in the cave, the sound of the deafening sound of the waterfall finally kind of stops, and there's like the drip, drip, and the waterfall is more distant, and your ears almost kind of ring with the absence of that sound. But the acoustics are just now completely different. Very, very different environment. So to proceed, you will be going down. I assume you will do so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I have to, excuse me while I jump out of one thing and into another.
The fog of war.
Yeah, let's call them, okay, we got that, then we got, okay. Never done this before with Photoshop. It's an interesting challenge.
You just have like a black layer.
Yeah. Okay, I gotta make sure I got this right. Okay. Ta-da. And then there's, I didn't even know you could do full screen mode in Photoshop, which was cool. All right. Ignore those other dots of light. Those were for my own reference, and I forgot to erase them. Oh, wait, what just happened? Wait, what did I just do? All right, sorry. Let's see here. What am I doing wrong? Was I on the wrong layer? Okay.
Does Muirin have any poisons on hand?
I have the lock finger, and that's it.
Okay.
Well, you have a
Oh.
dose of the forgetty stuff.
Oh my gosh, I do. I forgot.
It's still
I
good.
didn't
You
write
got
that
like
down.
5 more days on that.
Yes, and then lock finger we decided has to be drank, right? Or
Or
it tastes bad, or yeah, okay.
It was eaten, right? It's like a big, it's like a rock or something. So,
a chewy nugget.
Right, it was made of some rock, salt. Or,
I don't understand why it's not doing that when I'm in Photoshop. Now I'm getting the, okay, hold
I
on.
see the checkerboard, so that's...
Yeah, it wasn't doing that before. Very, very weird. And now, so
You're-
the eraser, I'm on, oh, I had the wrong layer selected?
Yeah, you have the wrong layer.
Sigh. All right. Haven't got it down to a seamless process yet. Okay, so you're descending, creeping along through this cave. It bends to the left. Now you've descended. It's much colder. It's only the light of the torch at this point. So that it's casting these weird long shadows that illuminating the walls of the cave. When you peer around this next corner, and the tunnel continues on. The walls are very damp and kind of shiny with the light of the torch from the dampness. And at this point, far away from the mouth of the cave, you hear the sound of rushing water ahead of you. And then you feel there's like a cold breeze blowing past you up the tunnel that makes the torch flicker a bit. And then the tunnel opens up. And you find yourself on a sort of stone platform, looking out over, when Topias kind of steps close to the edge of this platform. Is there a way to, what's the hotkey for zoom? Zoom in.
Command plus sign.
Yeah.
Or control plus sign if you're on PC.
Thank you. I love having all the savvy folks here. This is like a underground cavern, and the water is there's this area right here. Let's see if I can get the there's water kind of pouring down from above right here, like from like an underground indoor waterfall pouring down. You guys are standing on this kind of ledge-like area overlooking water that's flowing this way. And there is an opening to your right.
Okay.
That goes, ascends. This direction, the tunnel starts to climb up.
Yeah, I mean, since we went down, I don't think we must be looking at, like, this must rejoin the river, like at the base of the waterfall or something, or like even underwater or something. I don't think that this is going to be a way out. Because there would be daylight coming in. If this
right, there's no daylight in either. Right, the torchlight is the only light right here.
Yeah, so it must have fused through a rock wall or go underwater somewhere or go underground somewhere. So.
Do you think that those marks outside were warning people that they would die if they entered this cave? Or do you think this might be some sort of burial chamber for picos?
Yeah, it could always be that. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't think it is, but it could always be that.
Is any of this carved, or is it just natural cave?
So far, it all appears to be natural. Yeah. Despite, this map making program had a pretty harsh grid on it, so everything looks very orthogonal. But yeah, it's a natural cave. Let's go, says Annika.
Yeah. Keep moving.
So down this tunnel, and then it starts to ascend. Oh shit.
Do you need us to look away?
Hold on. Da 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 da. Somewhere over here. Oh, I think I figured it out. Really is like being in the dark. Yeah. So you guys come up this tunnel here. And when you get to this kind of mouth, this tunnel opens up into a larger space. And the torchlight catches something hanging from the ceiling. So there's a pause. And then Topias kind of, holds the torch higher and takes a step closer to let a little more light into this space. So this is a bigger space. You don't have any idea how big it is. The ceiling's higher. And hanging from the ceiling in kind of erratically placed spots are long white sort of threads or almost look like rope hanging from the ceiling. And at the end of each of these ropes is kind of a ragged, looks like a ragged white sack that's been torn open, perhaps. So, and with the torch holding it up where you're from your position, the torch illuminates, maybe like half a dozen of these ropes descending from the ceiling, and that the ragged, torn sacks at the end of the ropes are roughly, sort of shoulder level to you. They're sort of at different heights, but roughly speaking, they're sort of at shoulder level.
What is in the sacks?
So there's going to be some cautious advancing into the room. Yeah, by Vicky.
I can't quite. Can I just get? So you had us on a different little map. Is that a lower level?
Yeah.
So now we've raised up to a higher level a little bit.
You've come back up to the same level that you entered.
Oh, I got you.
So you basically you descended and basically went like this.
Yeah. Okay, got it. Can you zoom in a little bit more? Command plus on that.
Yeah, I gotta get it back into Photoshop mode.
Oh,
there we go.
Put my glasses back on. How big is this cave? We don't know.
From where you're standing, the torch is illuminating, so you're still sort of basically at this mouth still looking out, and it's 10, 20 feet to this corner here. So it's at least 30 feet across. You'll have to advance further to see where the far side of it is, but the torchlight's going out 30 feet. And the nearest, what time you was curious about these sacks or whatever, the nearest one as you step closer to it, you notice in fact that it's not rope, or the first impression was that it was, but it's very thick spider silk. And the bags appear to be open or broken egg sacs, cocoons.
Okay. Well, this makes sense. We saw the spider outside. There must be more of the things in here.
Spiders leave you alone if you leave them alone.
Yeah, there may be a lot of them in this cave. I suppose they, like that other spider, perhaps they head out to go foraging with the wind.
Well, whatever made those symbols must have come through this cavern. So I'm not seeing any humanoid bones around here. So either the spiders moved in afterwards, or Muiren's right that we shouldn't be that worried about.
Maybe should we cautiously make our way over to the this other.
Yeah, let's move in so we can see the rest of the room.
I think Jan, were you saying to go over to this other revealed corridor? And
yeah, I mean, we can explore the room if you want to, but
I just want to make sure that there's no other corridors.
So move a little more towards the middle of the room to get a clearer idea of what's going on. Yeah.
But if this is the spider's nursery, there may be more of them around.
Is it possible to see that all of the eggs have hatched? There's none that just didn't.
Yes, so you will, from everything you can see, yes, but you haven't fully seen the full extent of the chamber yet, so you're not really sure. From what you can see, they're all just hanging loosely and open. So it sounds like there's some caution on Viki's part. Taimi wants to get in there and get a better, clear sense of the whole, what's on the other side, right?
Yeah. Okay. You know what? I grabbed Tobias.
You do, okay.
And I pulled him to the other side of the room.
Okay, so you're like, come over here, and you guide him over, and the torch illuminates the extent of the chamber. And there are, besides the way you came in, there's 4 other tunnels that lead away. This one here appears to go up. The other ones, this one appears to go down. And Muirin, you notice there's a dark stain on the floor, and there is a trail of blood that goes this way.
Oh no. Should I sense danger again in this room?
Totally up to you.
What do you guys think?
Is there a drawback to sensing danger? I mean, I know there's a drawback to most moves.
No, I only have a limited amount to spend, basically.
Oh.
Remember that you can get cunning back too. It's not too hard to get cunning back. You just have to take a moment to. I think you're supposed to. What's the wording in the cunning?
It's very. It makes it seem like I can just gain it back. When you take the time to brood in silence and plot your next move, reset your cunning to its max.
Yeah, so it's actually pretty easy to get back. The only time when that's tricky is like if you're in a tense situation, like a fight or something like that, right? You can't just take your time to brood and plot your next move. Although you could even do that narratively, you could figure out a way to do that. So it's pretty easy for you to get your cunning back.
To brood. Okay, so it is that easy. I'll definitely just do a tune.
Okay.
Sense.
So you hear the dripping of water. You definitely get the sense that so the blood does not seem to be that fresh. It's tacky, so it's not totally dry, but it's tacky, and it might just be the humidity in the cave that's making it that way. You don't get the sense that there's any immediate threat, but you do get the sense that this place is life has been here. Like this is a used place.
That's good news.
Well, we don't really know where to find what we're looking for exactly, unless we find a giant stone like they have in Saltwall. We're really just exploring. Anyone have a sense of which way to go?
I would suggest, at this point, I don't have experience in caves, so I have no experience like keeping my bearings in caves. So I think that anyone besides the blood is just as good as another. If you want to start on the left and work our way to the right, or start our way on the right, maybe start on the right because it's the furthest from our right, which would be that bottom one, which is like the furthest away from the blood trail.
Right. It just if we're worried about going lower, which we probably feel okay about going deeper.
I would just be a little bit nervous about getting underwater.
Oh, like a flood.
Well, or just ending up in a river somewhere and having to turn back also. I'm tempted to see if the River King actually does collect things, if we can find our way to into a space that he could occupy, at least while he's gone. What about heading, we could go anywhere, but what about heading all the way to the left and try to make our way back to the large entrance that he would be able to fit in.
Like this way?
Yeah, and find out where he sits at night and counts his jewels.
Tiny shrugs. She can't tell the difference one way or the other.
Yeah, I don't think any of us really can.
Yeah, I guess I think it makes sense to sort of see how it connects to, if it does in fact connect like we're thinking.
Right, I see. So you're thinking the waterfall entrance is over here, and this tunnel of everything you've seen so far looks like the one that might have potential to go over there, if I'm understanding Paviki.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
in a general way.
So Taimi's cool with that, or
yeah, that's fine.
Resistant? Okay.
Yeah.
So and Weirin, you're cool with that?
Yes, it doesn't seem dangerous.
Okay. So you make your way. There we go. Taking a second to catch up. Up that tunnel, turns to the right. Drip, drip, drip. And it starts to climb. It actually starts to ascend. So you're going up some steps, and the quality of the air changes. It gets a little, I guess Weirin is the most sensitive to this. It feels a little less humid. It feels more dry as you probably ascend a total of 15 feet here. And then it opens up into a cave, and you stop because right around the corner there, you see a headless skeleton of a humanoid creature. Well, you guys have been talking about Pico. It's about the size of a Pico, lying kind of half, just kind of loosely on the ground. There's no skull on it. So that's when you stop, and the air in this chamber is just drier, and it smells faintly of like I'm trying to think of what Weirin would associate this smell with. It's not a good smell. It's like a slightly sour smell, and you know, you're tuned into your surroundings. You don't. The vibe changes, but it's not like you feel threatened.
Did the skeleton have anything on it that was non-decomposable?
So Taimi kind of takes a couple steps forward. Topias holds the torch up, and you past the skeleton's feet, you see more bones. And the skeleton itself, maybe there's like some shreds of cloth on some of it, but nothing like nothing that withstood the passage of time.
Mm-hmm.
Besides that.
But it's an intact skeleton besides the head.
Yeah.
See, that's interesting, because that's not like, if this was eaten by a creature, the skeleton wouldn't be anywhere near as intact.
Mm-hmm.
There'd be
Right.
bones
No,
all over
and
the
certainly
place.
as a hunter, you know that for sure.
Yeah, so this wasn't killed by an animal. This was killed by either a conscious creature who was killed by a terrible
beheading accident.
Or an animal that eats heads.
Or, yeah, I guess, or an animal that's just like a tube worm that just like grabs the head and nothing else.
The skulls painted on the outside make me think that maybe someone is collecting their heads. But I still wonder if it could be a burial.
Yeah, I mean, their culture would have to be so different from any semblance of culture that we're familiar with to have this level of irreverence.
Unless the skeletons were dragged around by something else. Should we peer around the corner and see what's there?
Yeah.
So it sounds like Taimi and Weirin are both kind of at the head of the pack, right? Is Taimi very curious about what's going on?
Yeah, Taimi's curious.
Whoa.
Uh-oh.
And they're all missing their skulls. So I guess with the torch, you've probably seen about this much. You see a little bit of a hint of a wall over there. And the torchlight flickers on the bones of other. And over here against this wall, it's like heaped up. There's no sense of, I think the only sense of order or that you feel here is stuff appears to have been sort of piled. The remains have been sort of piled, but not in any kind of, obviously the floor in the middle is empty. So perhaps a choice was made to pile things there. As opposed to just, dropping things wherever or people dying wherever, however these people met their end. But over near this is actually the wall of the cavern on this side. There's just a big pile of these bones. And Topias audibly gulps.
Yeah. Is this behind all those piled up? Is there a wall following behind them the whole way? Oh, it just keeps going.
So you peer over closer and hold the torch up. This is like an alcove that you, without walking on the, you kind of stand in between them. And Topias holds the torch up and nervously he's looking over his shoulder and he's actually, sweating a little bit. This looks like it kind of dead ends and the pile is particularly dense there.
Get out the shovels. Start digging. Wow.
What's on the other side of the room?
Like following along this wall or looking more, like going back to the entrance and looking over this way?
No, on the other, opposite, to the east of
Here?
that.
Yeah. So you gradually make your way around. All along the outside of this cave, it's the same situation, headless skeletons. There's a central kind of natural mass of rock that goes up into the ceiling. There's places where this is kind of, the ceiling is so low that Paiviki actually has to kind of like duck a little bit. It's very uneven in here. And you carefully, quietly make your way around the extent of the cave. I will say, let me see here. So right here, when you get to this spot and you're examining that, there's the torch kind of gutters for a second as like a wind blows by you. And Topias holds the torch forward and you look up and there's a kind of natural chimney that actually ascends up and sort of away at an angle from this area here. It just ascends into darkness, right? So it's like basically a vertical tunnel that kind of goes up into space right there.
I wonder if they could have been tossed down that tunnel.
And then right here, obviously, this is where the blood trail comes up. So you managed to light up that much of the cave. And the blood trail when you get over into this area, there are some corpses that are less skeletal, that are more recently decomposed. And the blood trail leads to a body. There's a moment Topias actually gets a little, he gurs himself a little bit, and by Taimi's estimation, there is this most recent body, which appears to be, because this is in your head right now, it appears to be some kind of Pico, although its skin is much paler than Onikos, and it's dressed in just like, it's got like an animal skin loincloth. It still has its head. It's the only body in the whole room that still has its head.
Oh.
And but it appears to have been, dragged. That's actually pretty clear. I mean, Taimi recognizes that instantly. It appears to have been dragged because you can see the streaks on the ground, and then just kind of dropped kind of unceremoniously on top of some of the other skeletons.
Well, I guess that answers who made the handprints, or what made the handprints.
But you said it was similar to a pica, but not necessarily the same.
Yeah, so a little closer examination appears to be like, you remember Onikos's, the hands and feet. The face is definitely resembles Onikos, and Onikos has pointed ears, and this creature does also, but its skin is like pale to the point of almost being translucent.
Well,
Well, I mean, it's sort of, it's long dead, but, and its skin is kind of knobbly, like the surface of a gourd, like a,
yeah.
It's got
Maybe
like a kind of almost like a blistery kind of knobbling all over its skin. Oh, and it's got marks, like lime stripes and markings in different places.
Maybe they have light skin because they live in this cave. Maybe they don't venture out.
Yeah.
That's a good guess.
I wonder why this one of all of them had no head removed.
And that one is dead much more recently than the other bodies. Is that?
Yeah, in this area where you find that one, things are a little less decomposed. Like they all, in generally speaking, if you had to guess, where you first entered, those seem to be the oldest remains, and then as you got over to this part of the cave, these are more recent. Just judging by the degree of decomposition, and that one is the most recent. Yeah.
All right, I'm ready to move to the next tunnel.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
So back down into this the spider silk cave, and then is it this tunnel you're talking about?
Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so you
Cool.
round that corner. Okay, so you guys come down back into this cave. And we're in the lead. You enter this cave, and the torchlight, you come around this corner, and the shadow that the torchlight casts, let's see if I can. So the shadow goes like this, right? You're here, the torchlight casts a shadow, this whole area is in shadow. And as Topice is behind you, Marianne's in the lead, as that shadow kind of, first when you come down, it's here, and that shadow kind of moves this way as you enter the cave. As it passes across this area, there's a moment where when the shadow is eliminated by the torchlight, remaining briefly is a shadow it looks like a four-winged, like you just get the brief impression of four wings and a kind of central body of some kind, but too vague for you to really make out. So the torchlight kind of reveals that for a second, and it's like almost like it's a shadow cast on the wall, right? It's almost like a silhouette of this figure. And then there's sudden like flickering of the wings kind of moving, and that shape kind of appears to disappear down this tunnel.
Who saw it?
What's that?
Who saw it?
I think Muirin, as the first person around the corner, was the only person to see it.
Could it have been a spider?
No, definitely not. I mean, the strangest thing from your perspective was that it looked as if something should have been casting that shadow, right? It looked like the shadow of something that was standing in front of that wall, its shadow being cast on the wall, but there was nothing in front of the wall. So this, the shadow itself seemed to sort of flap away down that tunnel.
And like, I should have seen the thing because there was light shining on it.
Yeah, right.
Something may have been spying on us. Did anyone else see that?
Yeah, no one else did. Oh, what was spying on us? What do you mean? What was it?
I can't say, but it flew away or it moved away, and all I caught was a shadow when there should have been some kind of creature casting that shadow.
Are you sure it wasn't a trick of the light?
No, it could have been. I mean, I don't think I encounter that kind of thing super regularly, so it is catching me off guard.
How big was it?
Is it spider size?
The central body was probably like 1.5 feet, and then the wings, each of the wings was maybe 3 feet. And they're, just remembering the brief impression you got was of something like they seem sort of like the shape of bat wings.
Okay, maybe it just lives here. Maybe it's in There's no like sense that we can like hear other flying creatures, right? So I couldn't hear it. You can't hear it or see it, just the shadow.
That's correct. Yeah, there was no sound.
Okay, so that's fishy. Well, anyway, we could follow it or continue down the
Do the spirits of the dead have wings?
There's no wings on those bodies, right?
No,
Um,
no, I don't. Well, unless Onikas had them hiding under his shirt.
the can I try to recall anything from Phantoms and Warriors about shadow creatures with wings?
Sure. Yeah. So you're trying to find answers.
Yeah, I'm trying to find answers about things that seem mysterious.
And you're just remembering from what you've read. So you're not actually able to refer to the.
No, I don't have the book with me right now. I think I think I have it in the cart.
Sure. Yeah, you can try to remember what the book said about the kinds of shadow creatures are.
Yeah. They roll something?
I think that's intelligence to recall.
Okay. Ooh, I rolled a 3 plus 2, so 5.
Ooh. So you get to mark intelligence.
All right.
And I get to make a move.
It's always risky to try to remember things.
Right. Should I? No, let's just go on. Ignorance is bliss.
Happy to be ignorant.
Ignorance is no GM moves. So at that point, a spider appears in this central tunnel right here. A spider about the same size as the one that you saw before, so quite small. Sort of just appears at the edge of the torchlight. It is in the light of the torch. It's kind of brown in color, and it's totally quiet. It's actually Annika who notices it and says like, tss, tss. And the spider kind of freezes in the torchlight. What do you do?
I kind of nudge Topias on the shoulder. Wave the torch at it.
Okay.
Get it to leave so we can continue on, or just ignore it, guys.
Oh, you said so. Ignore it, or have Topias wave the torch at it. Like kind of like in a like like a threatening kind of way.
Yeah.
Okay. So Topias like looks at you, really, and then but he's like okay, and he steps forward and he kind of like crouches down and kind of like experimentally kind of like pokes the torch in the spider's direction, and it sort of takes a cautious half step up onto the wall. So like some legs are on the ground, some legs are on the wall, and then it gradually kind of retreats, and then it disappears from the edge of the torchlight.
All right.
And Topias says, "Ha!"
Yeah, I guess you were right, Muirin. They're more afraid of us.
Well, I'll see, I guess.
Iviki takes a step forwards towards the spider and says, hold on a minute. And says in that direction, we come from the north. We don't mean any harm. We're merely exploring this cave. Leave us in peace and we'll leave you in peace as well.
So Paviki's there. Tapias is there.
Yeah, she doesn't get too much closer to the spider than.
Yeah. And Taimi, where would Taimi be?
Whatever the back of the marching order is.
Over here?
I've been trying to maintain that, yeah.
Okay. So Paviki takes a step into that. And Anika says, wait, what's that? And over in this cave, there is it's like a bluish green kind of glow. Like a shimmering, like a almost like if sunlight reflects off of water and then hits a surface, right? That kind of wavy water reflection. On this wall here, there's it wasn't there before, and there's this just kind of glimmering, waving kind of pattern that then kind of fades to darkness.
Can you describe that again? I didn't quite follow it.
So Annika says, "What's that?" and points this way. Everybody turns and looks. Topias is holding the torch up. So Topias is here. So the torch is illuminating basically about this much space. Or maybe this is just outside of the edge of the torchlight. On the wall of this tunnel, there's a wall right here. This is an easy way to erase. There we go. So right there is the wall of that tunnel, and there is a reflected light against that wall coming from, it looks like it's coming from deeper into that tunnel. And it looks like sunlight, as if sunlight was reflecting off of water, the way, when if you're at a swimming pool and the light makes that kind of pattern through water. But it's on the wall of the cave, and it's a kind of bluish green kind of color. It kind of glitters and shimmers in the kind of uneven surface of the rock, and then fades away. And as it fades away, it seems to kind of retreat up that tunnel.
Does it look like it may have been reflecting off of water, or just something like that?
Just something like that. Yeah, it doesn't look quite. That's what it resembled most, was a reflection off of water.
Well, we have three.
And Annika says, "Let's see what that is." What was that? It was beautiful.
Oh God. Oh.
We have three mysterious options before us.
All right, so Paiviki, what do you do?
Yeah, I'm going to take a step over there, and take Topias the torch bearer with me, and see if we can kind of peek around the corner.
Okay, Taimi, what do you?
We can get a.
Yeah, that was the
Actually,
path
sorry.
we were planning to go anyway.
Can I peek without the torch for a moment to see if that light source is more clearly visible?
Sure. So in the so it's not direct torchlight, but there is illumination kind of going around that corner. It kind of just jogs a little, and then from your angle, it looks like the tunnel kind of goes up a little bit. And when you look on this wall here, you see the same kind of glimmer, and then it kind of slips away further up the tunnel.
Does the wall look reflective at all? Is it like if it would?
No. It looks
So
like the same kind of cave wall that you've been seeing all along.
I mean, I guess the question I'm asking is if there was, say, something that was glimmering and blue lit, would that be what we'd be seeing, or is there some strange thing happening to the wall of the cave itself, or does it look like there's light that's
It looks
receding?
like it looks to the. I mean, it's very strange. Doesn't seem to abide by. I mean, if you had to put like a natural cause to it, you would say that when you first saw it, there was something here that was reflecting light. Like, let's say it was like a giant blue gemstone, for instance, and it was reflecting light against this cave wall, light that was being cast on it. And then when you rounded the corner, that same light was being reflected against this wall as if from further up the tunnel. So just as a fantastical thing, if there was a giant blue gemstone moving away up that tunnel just out of sight, and there was light being reflected off of it onto the walls around you.
Okay.
And so, Taimi, you were also kind of interested in that direction?
Yeah, well, that's the path that we were going. We had said that we were going to go before.
Okay, and we're in?
Yeah.
Yeah. Follow.
Maybe we should fall back into our regular order. What do you think? Or, I mean, you can go first, Taimi, if you want to. But Myron is much better at snooping things out than I am.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree.
And then, is it appropriate to see if this is dangerous, or is the danger still the same, like not imminent as previously? Or is it now imminent because there was a move that was made?
You can totally sense danger. I mean, you can do that whenever you want, as long as you're willing to spend a cunning.
Right.
And the situations change, and obviously, you did just see some different new stuff, so the situation may certainly have changed. So you can totally sense danger.
Okay, I'll just do a quick, using that cunning.
You are in imminent danger.
Oh.
So we're in, like, these things happen really quickly. That weird shadowy thing, that was strange, and then this spider appeared, and now there's this flickering light, and then Muirin just takes that moment to kind of tune in, and you're like, oh.
Imminent.
Your feeling is, they know we're here.
And
like
when
it just comes to
yeah. And then
and at that same moment,
from where?
Interesting.
Right.
Well, at the same, so you do that, and you're like, okay, and then Taimi's bringing up the rear, so everybody's kind of preparing to enter this tunnel, and Taimi is at the back, and Taimi, you're obviously you're the rear guard, so you're always watching behind to make sure everything's okay. There's a moment where you look forward towards everybody else, and then you look back at this tunnel, and you see a sudden a figure just beyond the edge of the torchlight retreat. A quick glimpse of a pointy-eared figure.
Yeah.
A flash of pale skin, and they retreat as soon as you look in their direction.
Muirin, hold. I think I might have seen what you just saw a second ago. I think I just saw something humanoid, light skin. It started behind here.
Well, that's good, because I was sensing imminent danger. So when I sensed danger, it was coming from that tunnel, right? And that's where it would have, or is it everywhere?
I would say there's this sense of the area where you are is definitely under threat. So you're here. Paviki's behind you. And then Anika, Tapias, and Taimi. And if you had to locate it, you'd either way. It's like, oh,
everywhere.
We're in a tight spot, And now I need you guys to tell me exactly what you do next.
Uh,
So Muirin at the
I-
head of the pack. You've got this, Muirin, you've got this sudden sense. So what is your, yes, we are in imminent danger. So what do you do?
I'll freeze and listen. Did this happen before Taimi saw that that creature, or because Taimi also told me to pause too, so
Yeah, I think it's all kind of happening at once, and it's all
Okay.
part of the same thing, the same kind of package of threat. Taimi saw something, you sense danger. For you, you instantly understand that whatever Taimi saw is part of the danger.
yeah, I guess my instinct is to retreat into the group and not move backward into that room.
So are you calling anything out, or are you just kind of moving backward?
I mean, I'll say we can't go forward, or let's not go forward. No, not this way.
Okay, great. Not this way. Excellent. Taimi, you're at the rear. You just saw that. What do you do?
I grab Topias by the shoulder and pull him so that we could sidestep like 3 feet so that his torch is shining down.
Into the tunnel? Great.
Yeah. And then I let him go because he said to say exactly what I'm doing. Then I let him go so I can hold my crossbow and I yell, "Show yourself!"
Nice. Okay. Paiviki, what do you do?
I'm gonna back up into the cave, and I think I want to stand and guard these other 2 tunnels right next to Topias.
Okay, got it.
So the one where the spider went and the one where the light came from, I just want to be right there and ready to for anything that comes.
Great. And Muirin, you're falling back into the cave, you said, right?
Yeah.
Okay, not this way. Taimi decisively pulls Topias over to light the path of a crossbow bolt might take, illuminating further down this cave here. You see that far, and you do that suddenly, and there's just a moment where the torchlight illuminates this whole corner, and reroll 1d6 for me, John.
6.
Okay. There's 1 on the floor, there's 3 on the wall, there's 1 on the ceiling, and there's 1 on the opposite wall. Well, there's a total of 7 of them. So the torchlight suddenly illuminates 7 of these, clearly the same creatures that you saw, the bodies you saw piled up in that cave. Pale white skin, sort of bulbous, pale, pupilless eyes, marked up with this, white line that's kind of almost the same color as their skin. So you sort of catch him in this moment where several of them are just on the wall. One of them is actually on the ceiling looking at you, stuck to the ceiling. And
do they appear to be Picos?
yes. I mean, they're different. They're very different from Onakos in terms of like their appearance, but their basic physiognomy is the same.
Mm-hmm.
Their eyes and their skin is just very, very different. And will you please roll 2d6 plus nothing to see exactly, this is checking reaction to see what they do in this moment. You caught them a little bit off guard.
Do you want the numbers of the total?
Total.
7.
Okay, so you catch them off guard and they just freeze. So you're just caught for this. There's this second where Topias is holding the torch. Topias is not even really quite processing, but you, the hunter, instantly understand there are 7 of them. That's where they are. You've got your crossbow out, and there's a moment where you instinctively know you've basically caught them in the headlights.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Stay back.
To them, you say that.
Yeah. Do they react? They might not speak common. Or
Right. You say stay back, and then Muirin and Paiviki from this cave over here, you hear like echoing through the cave, and there's a at the sound of that, all 7 of them race towards you. Tiny.
Whoa.
All right, I shoot the one in the lead.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Let me make sure I know what I'm doing here. Okay. I've got +3 to my bow or crossbow. That's 7 + 3 is 10.
Sure is.
And my damage is a D8, and I'm going to use one of my metal to strike hard to increase it by my strength, which will be +1.
Okay.
Ooh, 7. 7 + 1, 8.
So there's like 4 of them on the walls, 2 of them on the ground, 1 of them on the ceiling. I think there's probably 1 on the ground actually 1 on the wall that's a little closer than all the others. So your instincts have you shoot that one. It's like rapidly scrabbling along the wall of the cave and right through the heart. That one just sprawls and hits the floor of the cave. And you've shot your crossbow. I guess, actually, Annika gets off a shot because Annika was right there behind you. Mm-hmm. So will you roll for Annika, who actually gets I believe, a +1. Oh no, Annika's quality. Oh,
it doesn't matter.
No plus. Yeah,
she rolled a 4.
Okay. So that one just perhaps Annika was panicked, didn't get a good shot. It just flies into the darkness. She throws down her bow, and one of the ones on the opposite wall lunges at Topias and grabs him. And he's got his hatchet out, and it actually you got to roll to fight for Topias by Yuki. Actually, Topias is suddenly engaged by this thing. So Paiviki, Jan, will you roll for Topias?
Okay. Topias rolled a 9.
Okay, so deals damage but suffers the enemy's attack as well. And he's got a hatchet.
Is there any way that I can change that roll with my luck?
With your luck.
Do you have a bond with Topias?
I do. It looks like it's blacked out, but
yeah, helping him would be a little hard in this situation. I think you could, yes, burn your luck. It's the overall luck of the situation right now. You could turn that into a 10.
Okay.
Topias do it. Your charge. So that takes up to a 10. So Topias gets to deal damage for a hatchet, which is 1d4. John's liking
Did you
that.
change it to 1d6, or are we not using that one?
Oh, did I? This may be an old list. Sorry. Let me check that real quick. I think I did change it, and it was because of Paiviki's interest in axes, right?
Yeah, I was.
Sorry, I haven't done.
For axes.
All right.
Oh yeah, I think I used that bond with him last time when I was pulling him up from the slipping on the.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, it's 1d6. Sorry.
Okay. Should I roll damage?
Yes.
2.
Okay. So it lunges at him. It's like it's trying to grab his both of his wrists. Basically, it's trying to like grab him. He takes a step back and he takes a step back, holding his torch out of reach, and whacks it with his hatchet and like knocks it to the ground. You're unclear about how much damage he did, but he sort of struck it to the ground. So it's been it's not clear whether it's dead or not, but he's done that. And Paiviki, what do you do?
Do these creatures have any weapons? Or the one around the corner?
That's actually, things are happening so fast you can't really tell yet.
Okay.
Paiviki definitely.
I shout to everybody, move back to the tunnel and try to step between Topias and the creature that he just whacked.
Okay.
But kind of trying to like get him to move back.
You mean
everybody else to move back to the tunnel?
The tunnel you came out of, this one over here?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Are you shouting orders?
I'm shouting an order. It's not a question.
But like
yeah.
the move, are you using the leader move, or are you just sort of telling people what to do? You are, okay.
Yeah. There's also, I mean, in some earlier version, there was a move called Lead the Retreat. I don't know if that move exists anymore.
Yes, when you urge your comrades to follow your example and run for their lives. But is this a tactical retreat, or is it a turn tail and flee?
I think it's a tactical retreat. So I want to say I'll use the leadership. See what happens.
Go for it.
Yeah, I rolled a 9 + 2, so 11.
All right. All allies take +1 ongoing to act on those orders until the battle is over or you give new orders. So in order to fall back to that tunnel, if you guys have to make any rolls that contribute to that that move, that action, you will get +1 to those rolls.
That's interesting. You know how the wording kind of matters. Like, anyway, we'll see how it plays out.
It does matter. Okay, Muirin. So you're doing that. Everybody's gets +1 to fall back, and you've moved. Are you? I guess the question is: are you leading the way that way, or are you trying to kind of usher people and stay?
I'm trying to usher people that way, particularly Topias. I want to have him behind me.
Got it. And you're inserting yourself between Topias and the creature. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Muirin, Annika is definitely falling back. You've pushed Topias further back. Muirin, what are you doing?
I think I feel good. Yeah, I'll also go on the defensive and try to fall back.
Okay.
So there's really like the line is being held by Taimi and Paiviki pretty much.
It looks like the three of you are kind of the line, but retreating. Okay. Although Taimi is not retreating at all. Taimi's like the pivot of that line, right?
Right.
Yeah. And see, there's a creature here on the ground. There's one, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4. One's down, So there's one on each of the walls and one on the ceiling right now, kind of right there at the mouth. And they're at this point, so all this is happening super fast. 2 of them look like they're going to go for Paiviki, and 2 of them are going for Taimi.
Oh, I see. Can I so if I throw my knife at them, like I reach into my waist and pick up my knife and aim, I'm gonna aim for the one that's closest to me that
Sure.
still
Yeah.
has health.
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
Are these throwing knives, or is it just a knife?
It's just a knife. I think it's just a knife that I have had.
Okay.
And I have no special skill in that.
That's okay. You got a pretty good dexterity, I think, right?
Yeah. That was a good.
So since this knife is not designed for throwing, what I think I would have you do is, if you hit, you'd roll 2 damage twice and take the lower result.
Okay.
So go ahead and roll dex.
Cool. So I have a 6.
You rolled a 6.
Right. But I'll spend a luck.
Okay. This is funny because so you inflict damage after choosing one from the list below. Mark off an ammo, but that doesn't count because it was just 1 knife.
Right.
Bad angle, so roll damage twice and use the lower roll. So you'd roll damage 3 times and use the lowest roll.
Okay. And my damage is what, like a D4?
For a knife, it is just a D3, which is just a D6 divided by 2. Rounded.
Okay.
Okay,
that's 1. So 0.
I'm sorry. Did I change that rule too? Let me just double check my marketplace real quick. Yeah, no, it's a D4. It's a D4.
Okay.
Sorry. So the options are roll damage 3 times, take the lowest one, or roll it 2 times, take the lowest one, and attract unwanted attention.
I'll just roll the lowest of 3.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So a 1.
Okay, so you're throwing your knife. It actually hits one of them. Yeah. And sort of makes it, kind of makes it pause for a second, staggers it back a bit. That's this one on the wall. But it hasn't slowed it down really. It's just like a moment where it's struck. There's you definitely drew blood. Taimi, they're upon you.
I will slash at them with my short sword.
So you drop the crossbow, correct?
I figured that you don't think I would have enough time to hook it to my belt, because if I shoot one, I know I'm not going to be able to reload it.
How? So you're picturing a kind of belt loop that it kind of could easily kind of hook into. That's how you picture being when you're carrying it and it's not at the ready. It's kind of hooked into your belt. Is that the idea?
No, I actually envision it with a shoulder strap slung over my shoulder.
Okay, so maybe there's a quick
strap.
You kind of whip it back over, and you've probably practiced that with this new crossbow. Yeah, no, that's totally fine. That's great. So you fling that back. Your short sword's out, and there's 2 of them you're facing right now. Are you going to try to attack both of them?
What would be the reason not to?
When you attack more than one creature, you roll damage. So in this case, it'd be 2. So you're going to roll damage twice, and you take the lower damage and apply it to both.
Oh, interesting.
So you can take on multiple opponents, but it has a chance of reducing the total damage you inflict.
Yeah. How would that work if I should happen to roll a 10 plus and revel in battle? Would the effect apply across
Absolutely.
all those opponents?
Yep.
Okay, then I'll do that and hope for the best. And maybe learn some luck, baby.
All right, so this is a strength roll.
Yeah, which is just +1. Which is a 6 + 1 is 7, which I'll take.
Okay, deal damage, but suffer the enemy's attack as well. So roll your damage twice, and the lower roll lower. And that's applied to both.
4, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know that. There they are. There they are, baby.
Okay, and when you roll,
But I incur their damage as well.
yeah, and they are going to roll. So the same thing. In this case, actually, there's 2 of them on one, right? Instead of, and they when they're teaming up, what you do is you roll damage once for them, but you add 1 to the result because there's 2 of them attacking you simultaneously.
That seems wildly
No,
beneficial
I'm sorry.
to me.
You roll damage. You roll damage twice. You take the highest result and add 1 because there's an additional guy. So it's still not the same as rolling damage 2 separate times. But
Yeah. Have you run out the probabilities of like the benefits of that?
yeah, it's much more dangerous to have them roll independently.
Mm-hmm.
So the trade-off narratively is that you can engage larger numbers of foes and have fight scenes like you're damaging both of them right now, and they're both going to damage you, but they're not like, and it's like
The danger has not increased ×2.
right, exactly.
Okay.
Because you're facing this threat, and you're kind of like at the same time that you're fighting, you're also trying to defend yourself. So it's kind of all supposed to be rolled into that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I mean, that's good to know. I wouldn't have been so afraid of a group if I knew that it was a little bit in my favor in a way.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna roll. What do they roll for damage?
They roll D4, so you're gonna roll that twice, take the higher result, and add 1.
2, 4. +1 is 5. Minus my armor of 3 is 2 damage.
Yep. There's you sling the crossbow, swords out, take a step back. Actually, you totally manage to just strike one down instantly, and in that movement, the other one is upon you, and basically is trying to like bite your neck, but it digs its claws but the claws bite through the rings in your chainmail and bite into you like this. Your arms are like this, and you smash it up against the wall with the hilt of your sword, and it falls to the ground. So both of them are actually out.
Oh wow! Okay.
Paiviki, what do you do? The one between you and Topias is actually still alive.
Okay. And there's 2 more that are coming at me.
Yeah, let me so Tiny does that. Yeah, so let's yeah, so there's one on the ground. Actually, the one on the ground is getting back up, and there's 2 more kind of bounding towards you.
Yeah. I wonder if there's time for a spell.
Ooh, I don't know. Is there? Must have been in the back of Paiviki, who maybe was like, fall back to the tunnel, and like already there was something going on in the back of your head.
Yeah. I mean, it's that funny thing of like shifting from fighter logic to to magical logic. But I wonder if her experience with fighting and scrapping, growing up, if she'd be able to translate that at all to her magical understanding.
Yeah, certainly as you've engaged with the world in that way, which is different than you'd necessarily experienced before, and seeing the world through the way Locke sees it and all that. Yeah, that totally makes sense that you would be able to do that. What would you try to pull off?
I'm wondering about grabbing the torch from Topias and using Weave of Force to expand the fire and sort of thrust it, like just make a big burst of fire into the air, sort
As
of like
a kind of intimidating gesture, or something you want to actually damage them, or?
I think I would do it as something to damage them, just turn it into like a big burst of flame.
Okay.
In front of her, at those guys who are coming after me.
1, 2, 3. I think that would be a 3 power spell. Because it's several targets. They're within reach range.
Yeah.
And I think 1d6 is the damage that minor effect, 1d6.
Sure.
And your power is equal to your current magic user level plus your intelligence modifier.
Right.
What's your intelligence modifier?
2.
Technically, you're a 0 level magic user right now.
Oh, right. That's true. I am.
So we could adjust that if we drop the damage part
right.
and turn it into a parlor trick. It's like a scary thing where what you'd be doing, you'd be rolling to have the effect of frightening them away or staggering or stunning them, perhaps.
Yeah.
Or if you did want to do damage, then you would have to, you could focus on one target instead of several.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think maybe doing it as a parlor trick makes sense, and just trying to blast, singe the hair off of all those guys and just scare them into at least pausing while we all move back, like blinding them.
Yep.
Actually, that's probably more than just a parlor trick, but just scaring them.
Yeah, I think, the parlor trick would be like crazy big unexpected burst of fire, which would surprise and possibly frighten them, right?
Yeah.
If they are not used to that kind of thing.
Right. We don't know what they do.
You don't know. So you're casting a spell. This is the first time you've ever cast a spell. So you instinctively grab the torch from Topias, hold it out, and then what do you gesture? Do you just say some words? What does that look like?
I think she speaks the words for fire and air, and sort of takes the torch and sort of weaves it around so that the fire takes on like a
figure 8 kind of thing. Is that what you're?
Yeah, but that it moves on its own. I kind of do that with the torch, and then it just starts doing that.
And is that the weaving part?
In this case, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic.
And it's weaving air and fire together, kind of making having the fire take on a breezy effect.
So
yeah,
all in the air in front of you. Great.
Yeah.
Excellent. Roll to cast a spell that's 2d6 plus your intelligence modifier.
Okay. At least if I fail, I won't permanently, burn myself.
Right, because it's just a parlor trick.
All right. I rolled an 8 plus 2.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I think they're so they've one of them is actually on the ceiling, the other one is bounding across the floor, the other one's getting up. They all just like recoil. The one on the ceiling drops to the floor, and it's like they just completely recoil and fall back and turn and run away.
All right.
Down the tunnel.
Down that same tunnel?
Down the same tunnel they came out.
Okay.
Muirin and Taimi, how do you guys react to this sudden burst of flame?
I stop, drop, and roll. I've no warning that it's coming. I have no warning that Paiviki has completed her training to a point where she can actually pull this off. I'm not expecting it. So yeah, I think that it's an explosion or I'm on fire.
So Taimi just hits the dirt. Muirin, what's your reaction?
I'm in awe, very, very impressed. But I'm not in the way of it, so it doesn't scare me in that way. Yeah.
And Topias and Annika are just like jaws drop. Yeah, just like they can't really comprehend what they just saw. The creatures disappear from sight, and I guess there's an echo, right? There was their movement, there was all the sound that suddenly happened. That echo fades, and then Paiviki's there holding the torch in the middle of the cave, and there's a moment of quiet.
Taimi gets up and looks around, patting herself down. What was that? Where did they go?
Oh. I suggest we get out of here before they regroup.
Regroup? So what if they regroup? We can take them.
There's a little bit of you guys see like blood trickling down Taimi's the side of Taimi's rib cage. And Taimi's of course unfazed, absolutely, but there's and probably like full of adrenaline, but
Yeah.
Oh, we don't know how many are coming from that other cave.
While that's true, whatever just happened in this cave that has left us unharmed scared them. We could catch them off balance.
Oh, like strike while the iron is hot. So,
yeah.
But what is the point, Taimi? Do you think that these creatures have much to give us if we ransack their cave?
They might. They might. And they also, obviously, yes, we're in their home, but they obviously don't understand our tongue and are willing to attack on sight. Is it safe to leave creatures like that roaming free, in between Rayuna and Saltwall?
I just want to...
And besides, what of the beast's treasure? Perhaps they're guarding it. Perhaps they serve him like Onikas served Isilmat.
I just want to make sure Topias makes it home.
Although he has made a few missteps, I feel like you two don't do Topias a dishonor by thinking him so frail.
I said that kind of like in like a, confidence to
Oh, okay,
Maybe.
okay, yeah, you think
Not so Topias could hear me.
got
Oh well, I say it loud then.
Yeah.
Yeah. You think, and I motion him. You think him a boy. You think him a clumsy fool to fall over every stone and log that falls in our way. But he made that first step out of Rayuna. Only 5 of us left. Only 5 of us had the courage to undertake this mission, and you still treat him like a child.
I just say that there is no honor in dying in a cave filled with spiders and bats.
And that's all it will be, unless we make sure of that and push forward. I looked to Muirin. What's Muirin doing?
Oh, Mir went.
Does Miran not want to get involved?
Well, I suppose I'll ask Pybiki, are you thinking that this cave of creatures is not connected to the River King's treasure? Is that what your gut is telling you, or are you truly just worried for Topias? Because I do agree with Taimi that Topias wants adventure.
I can speak for myself.
Okay, sorry.
Well, I mean, I'm used to it, but and Pybiki, I really thank you for caring about my safety. But what Taimi says is true. I'm a man now. I've left the village. Out of all of us, aside from what just happened to Taimi, are you all right? I broke my leg climbing down this cliff, and I came here by choice, and I'm with you by choice. And we returned to Rayuna at your because you, as our leaders, all 3 of you have chosen. But I am here as a Rayunan with you, and I at your side to do what needs to be done.
What a sweet boy.
And you have honored yourself by your actions. I question whether there's much to be gained by following this path.
As we could be entering the larger river entrance that we know is would lead to the River King's domain.
Yeah. We don't know
That
if there's
sounds
anything to be
logical.
found in these caves at all. But we do
Yes,
know.
and
Go ahead.
I do feel, upon reflection, I do feel wary that we've invaded the home of these creatures, thinking it would connect. So, from that perspective, I feel as though it makes more sense to look for treasure rather than harass this strange group of creatures. Who knows what that ritual they're performing is, but this is their home.
Yeah, but did you see them? Says Annika. Ugh. Crawling on the ceiling? I mean, they're almost. She spits on the ground.
And you described flashing lights coming up the other tunnel, unnatural, as if reflecting off of a stone that wasn't there. What if these creatures have access to magics, just like the magician?
Evil and this magic is dangerous and could be used for evil, is your concern?
It could. Both Paiviki and myself called out to them and tried to communicate with them. And they only showed us aggression, and they could have that same aggressiveness with their magics.
So if we continue down this cave, you'd want to follow this left tunnel and not the spider tunnel or the light tunnel?
I think we need to take a larger step back, that if we continue going down this cave, we're going to run into more of these things, and we're going to have to kill them or not kill them. And I think that's the conversation we need to have. Because I think that removed from the equation, I think Paiviki has no trouble going to the cave. But I think that's the thing that Paiviki has the problem with. And I think that now Muir and you're also having a problem with.
Oh, well, it's also, what's the point of, do you think that that there's any treasure worthy of risking ourselves in this direction? These people, whoever they are, cut off their heads and pile them up.
From like a game perspective, is like our goal really is to collect treasure. The more creatures you kill, you don't earn more. Is that correct?
So Paiviki and Taimi at the end of this session will get an experience point each for having overcome a threat with physical prowess, right? That's fighters get experience point for fighting monsters.
Okay.
Yes, you get experience points. Yeah, in the scheme of things, killing and fighting things won't get you experience points in the long run, right? Like you can get them, but only one per session. Treasure, when you sock it away, gets you an experience point for every 100 silver pieces worth. And then, of course, you get XP for acting on your traits and exploring the world and whatnot.
Right. Gosh, there's so many interesting options.
We can go down this tunnel. I just don't know if it does have any connection with the where the River King lives.
None of us know. The second we step foot in here, we are into the unknown. But we can see.
Let's go down the tunnel where we saw the bluish light.
We definitely know that there's more pikas that direction because of the voice, right?
That is where the voice came from. Yeah.
It would be bold. It would make them think that they should fear us if we went straight towards their source of power.
When we heard that voice, did she track it as any like resemblance to Venati?
No.
I didn't think so. I just figured if there's any language that they might share a root language with because of the proximity would be Venati.
But it was probably some kind of commander voice, right? Because they listened to it.
Yeah, I really listened to it.
Certainly from context, that makes sense. Yeah.
My hesitation is also that we came into this cave as explorers. But if we continue down that route, then we come into the cave as an attacker. So they did attack us, but it's our choice what to do next.
I think from Liren's perspective, there does seem to be a possible evil that should be, or bad thing that should be corrected, just because the headless corpses signal something is wrong. And so if there's an opportunity to either figure out what's happening and maybe understand or stop it, then Weirin is okay with following that, even if this means we're more attacking than we are exploring.
Yeah, that's
Very well. Lead the way.
In the direction of where the voice came from?
I think so.
Okay. All right. With Muirin in the lead, same marching
Yes,
order,
and
right?
yeah, and can I have brooded to plot that we're doing this to regain my cunning? So
I think when Paiviki and Taimi first engaged with that conversation about Tapias, that's probably exactly what you were doing. It's
Okay,
like,
great.
okay, what are we gonna do next? What am I gonna do next? Okay, you proceed down this cave. It starts to, the steps start to move upward. You round this corner, so it kind of jogs a little bit to the right there, and right when you get to the opening right there, Muirin very cautiously, there's a dim bluish green glow in the darkness, and on the walls of the cave in front of you, there's some kind of glow emanating from the walls. The cave that you're looking into has kind of shelves cut into the stone, and the entire thing from floor up to its rough natural ceiling, the entire thing is covered in skulls, actual skulls. Your instant association being the skulls of the bodies that you saw earlier. So this entire cave is floor to ceiling covered in skulls. There is a rock in the middle of the room protruding from the ground, very different from the rock around, the kind of grayish black basalt or whatever it is around it. It's in the light of the torch, it shimmers and glitters, like the torchlight is catching flecks of mica on it. It has almost a glassy kind of surface. So you're standing at the mouth. Tapias is holding the torch up. Walls are lined with skulls, and there's this probably 4 foot wide hunk of strange rock protruding from the middle of the room. And the torch, from that point, the torch doesn't quite illuminate the far side of the room. So that's all there appear to be, and there's markings on the floors all over the floor around the rock. There's tons of white markings, just like overlapping white markings, strange symbols, marks you don't understand at all. Paiviki, when you look at these marks, you see some hint of the weave of the world. You see some hint of the wizard tongue embedded in these marks. Very different than the stuff that you've been trying to read and interpret, but there is a clear kind of resonance with that.
Yeah.
And Taimi, would you roll a d10 for me?
9.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, please say that there's 9 of them. These hot rolls would be these spicy rolls.
Spicy.
9 golems.
Okay, you got a 9, huh? So I can roll 9 times. Would you guys each roll a d10 and report the answer to me, and I'll call on you. Jan.
5.
John.
6.
Donna.
Oh, sorry. I was what is the time? 3.
3. And then Jan again.
5.
John.
6.
Donna.
5.
And one more time. Jan.
8.
John.
10.
Donna.
8.
Okay. I'm going to probably ask you guys to roll some more dice, so please bear with me as I do this. Oh, boy. Jan, will you roll a d6, please?
1.
Okay. John, will you roll a d4?
This is so much treasure. 2.
Donna, will you, let's see, will you roll a d6?
Yes. 3.
Wow. Jan, roll a d6 again.
3.
John, roll a d4.
1.
Donna, will you roll a d6?
2.
Jan, oh boy, oh boy. Jan, will you roll a d10?
9.
Oh boy. John, oh my God, roll a d4.
3.
And then will you please, John, roll a d10 3 times?
2. 10. 2.
All right, and Donna, will you roll a d10 one time?
5.
5. And a d12, please.
Jesus.
2.
You guys are my dice machine.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing?
Yeah,
Okay.
what is-
Well, you know, I've worked out a lot of the details on this place, but not every single one. So you just helped me figure out some more. So you see all these markings. You see that, you get your attention. You hear a sound from the far side of the cave. Topias takes a step forward, and you see the cave. There's an opening of the cave right here on the south side there. You see 3 of the creatures. They each have a kind of, looks like an animal hide kind of, so it's an animal hide wrapped around something, right? So you take an animal hide, wrap it around something, and then hold it at the top, like a makeshift sack, let's say, right? So the light kind of illuminates these 3 figures as they're hauling these sacks out of the room. And then they're gone. And as they haul the sack away, you see on the ground where they had just been. Jan, will you roll a d10?
1.
And then d10 again.
2.
There's like a gemstone about maybe an inch wide. There's like a this sort of hide sack is hauled away, and behind it on the ground is a red gemstone that catches the light.
Where are they heading?
They're heading, so the gemstone is right here, and they're gone that way.
And there's appears to be another tunnel to the right, or to to the forefront of us?
That looks like a little alcove that you can't quite see yet. It does not. Does it looks like there's a back wall to that. Like that.
Okay. There doesn't appear to be anybody else in this room.
That's right. One or two of the skulls has fallen off the wall onto the floor. There's like there's like refuse and debris around, but the main impression is like the walls covered in skulls, this strange stone in the middle of the room, and you guys are basically still standing at the mouth of that cave, and this all happened very quickly. Of course, you saw the figures and they kind of quickly retreated out of sight.
Did they see us?
They were obviously very aware of the torchlight.
This feels wrong. This feels unnatural. These skulls, this altar, this writing.
There's some magic in this writing, but I don't know what.
Any magic that would require beheading is a magic that I need to stop. I go and examine the gemstone.
Okay, so you step past Muirin and cross the room. As you do that, trying to think for a second. So you slung the crossbow. Could you describe to me what you're carrying?
Yeah, I probably...
Get your short sword out?
Yeah, I'm going to be fair here. I didn't say that I reloaded the crossbow, so I just still have my short sword out.
Oh, you had totally enough time to have reloaded it. You're a hunter. It's totally fine with me if you wanted.
Okay, then I would have had my crossbow out.
Okay, got it. So you crossbow out. So you're crossing. Let me think for a second. So you're cautious. Obviously, you've got it kind of at the ready. You're crossing the room. You step past Muirin, and you start because you're like, "What is that? That looks like a gem to me."
Yeah, and I don't see anything in the room. I don't see any living thing.
Right. There does not appear any obvious threat. You get to about here, and the bolt from your crossbow pops out of your crossbow and flies at the stone, and just goes tunk and sticks to the stone. And then you look down and you realize you feel this pulling, this tugging on your chainmail.
I swipe my hand there, thinking that there is something that I must be missing, that there must be some creature camouflaged with the stone that's tugging on me.
So you like swipe your hand in front of the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
There must be some, rocky skinned bat or something that I'm missing.
Right. So you sweep your hand in there, what's going on? And then your short sword at your belt starts to sort of tug and point towards the stone. And you guys back in there, you guys are all seeing this happen.
I kick in, I spin and kick in the direction of I guess of the stone, but in my mind, the direction of whatever is pulling on my equipment.
Whatever phantom is grappling with you.
Yeah.
So you guys see Taimi do like a kick.
And I think he says, "Taimi, come back."
Do you see it? There's something tugging on me. There's some. Am I caught on something?
It's the magic of the room. Come back.
And I look at Paiviki and I look at the stone, and I think I put two and two together, if that's the direction that my things are being tugged, and I move back.
Okay. Great.
Putting another bolt in my crossbow.
This room, that stone, seems to be removing any metallic threat that comes by. Perhaps it's
the stone.
The stone. Did you see your dart went to the stone?
Yeah, the dart went to the stone. The dart was small and light. The sword didn't come off of my belt.
No, but it may be a kind of a defense to protect against invaders. Did
I give you my short sword. Let's see how strong it is. And I go to the stone to pull the bolt off of it. Is it just like lying on top, like a pencil on a table?
Tiny, your chainmail. Remember your chainmail.
So you just shout the warning, right, Paiviki? But you
Yeah.
let Tiny go.
Yeah.
Okay, and you go over to try to pull the. So you go over.
Yeah.
And as you get there's this gradual tugging that you feel, and then when you get like a foot away, it pulls you very, very powerfully towards it, like onto it. You can try to resist that though.
Yes, I will try. I will try to resist that.
Make a strength roll.
Oh, that boy howdy. That's a 4 plus 1 is 5.
So you get you get to mark strength. That doesn't happen very often. And Taimi is yanked right onto it. Your chainmail is like stuck to it like glue. And all of a sudden you can't. You're just like in a very awkward position on top of this rock, unable to move. And from the darkness of the opening at the far end of the cave, you hear. That's right. And there's a green. So, and you, Tiny looks over towards that sound, and in the darkness of the opening of the cave, there's like a green spiral is being drawn in the darkness. And we're gonna stop there for the night.
Nice.
That'll give me some time to think of a counter spell.
Whole week.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap up. I don't think any alignments come into play.
No.
Traits. Paiviki, covetous, selfish, and bold.
I mean, I think I was bold probably just by going into a cave, but maybe also jumping in the way of Topias and trying to save him.
Yeah. Putting yourself between Topias and danger. Yes, great. XP for that. Muirin, focused, respectful, totally respectful.
Yeah, I tried to be respectful.
Totally. I mean, maybe you shouldn't kill these innocent creatures, but maybe they're not innocent. Yes, very respectful. And I feel like even though this is the first time we've been, I think there's something about sense danger that's very focused, right? Like taking a moment to focus, which might be an easy XP for you every single time, but like
right.
You doing that and then also, getting your cunning back, I feel like you were very focused in that regard. So anyway, 1 XP regardless.
Yay.
And Taimi, very curious for sure.
Yeah.
No question about
Bread and butter.
Deadly curious.
Deadly curious. Awesome. Fighters, mark XP if you solve the problem with physical prowess. Now, Paiviki solved a problem with magic.
Yeah, I don't think I used physical prowess. So,
but I feel like since you're on the cusp of leveling up to be, I assume you're gonna multi-class as a wizard.
Yeah.
I think it's totally legit to take your first XP as your first. You know what I mean? Because the other one is for the magic user. It's if you solve a problem with magic.
Okay.
And you totally did. You cast your first spell, and that scared away a threat.
Yay!
And then Muirin, if you solve a problem with stealth or trickery.
Not really.
No trickery came into play.
Yeah, that didn't come.
Did you make an exciting discovery?
Yeah,
Yeah, magic
Okay.
anvil.
yeah.
Yeah.
And evil.
Did you overcome a difficult obstacle? Yes. Everybody.
Yes.
And did you acquire some memorable booty? Not quite.
Not yet.
All right. I think Paiviki leveled up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Level
Woo
4.
woo.
So what that means is you're
Yay.
actually a level 3 fighter, level 1 magic.
Right. I'm gonna need to have a special sheet.
So the you don't get level 4 fighter because you get a different playbook.
Yeah, you track the levels. Every time Paiviki levels up, they can choose to either do it as a fighter or magic user. However, on odd number levels, let's see, you went from fighter to, let's see here. So fighters hit die is D10. With magic users hit die is D4. And when you're multiclassing as both, it is your hit die goes down a step to D8.
Oh, I thought it was you choose whichever one you were.
I changed it so that when you take the just to eliminate confusion, when you take the multiclass move, depending on which class you are when you make it, you get a new hit die basically.
Okay. But when you in the future choose like a what do you call it, like a special move, then it doesn't mean that you're like I mean, you could choose from either of them and you'd still get the same hit die.
Right. Because
Like
you get a new move every even level and you get hit points every odd level.
so are you choosing which so next time I have to choose whether I'm going up as a fighter or going up as a magic user? Is that right?
Yeah. Although next time it's sort of doesn't matter because you'll be rolling the same hit die regardless, right? You'll be marking abilities, getting more hit points. You won't you won't be doing anything that's class specific. But you will choose to be. But if you choose to go up as a magic user, your power will increase, right?
Right. But do you when you decide whether you're getting a special move, are you combining your levels of all your levels together to decide if it's even or odd?
Oh,
That's where I'm confused.
right. No, that's.
I think in a way you'd have to.
Yeah, right. That you just have one level, and it's just every time you go up, you decide whether you're going to do it as a magic user or a fighter. But you'd keep you wouldn't track two different levels. You'd just track the one level.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's probably the way it's got to go.
Because otherwise you could end up getting hit dice twice in a row or maybe.
Right. Yep.
Okay. So on this level, it counts as an even level. And all right.
And your advanced move is to become a magic user.
Right.
Or maybe there's some term that describes specifically the kind of fighter magic user mix that Paiviki is.
Right.
Trying to think of something with the word weaver in the title. A war weaver. Right. Some cool sounding hybrid class.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. Any post game thoughts? roses and thorns, or anything, things that you liked, things that were hard or difficult, or
Yeah, I think we need to talk about this session, guys. I think it was like really like stalling. I think that there was a lot of times that we were all like, I think the point that really got to me was when Jason had to step in for like Annika and be like, what's that? We should follow. Like, I think that's a clue to us that like sometimes we're overthinking things or not reacting. And we're also, and I've sensed this at other points during this game, we play with a lot of fear. And I get that like this game is supposed to be like hard, but like, I don't know. Like, I just think that we need to then like kind of figure out like what our characters want. Like, do our characters want to be exploring in caves? Like, I don't know. That was frustrating to me this session. That was pretty frustrating.
Yeah, it is hard because on the one hand, there is a genuine fear for your well-being, right? Like, in theory, this is a dangerous kind of game, so decisions are important. But yeah, on the flip side of that, there is this issue of it can lead to kind of, and John, you and I have experienced this a lot in other games we've played, like when we played the vampire game and there was all that planning that went into whatever next mission was, like an enormous amount of planning that would go into it. So there are ways that I can try to, usher that along as a GM. And sure, one thing is like having Annika point that out. And then, back when you were trying to catch the word keeper, and I said like, well, he's leaving, like you better do something now. And I can do things like that, which are appropriate, but there are also times when I want you to figure things out, there's like, it's a funny kind of balance to try to strike.
I get it. It's just, especially in that last cave, it's like there was a shadow of a creature here, the spider here, and glimmering lights here. I mean, you were like literally throwing rice on the ground for these vampires to be like, oh boy, like let's talk about every single one. And it just, yeah, I think that it's us thinking more than like our characters thinking. Like our characters are seasoned enough that they wouldn't just be standing there blankly staring at the walls. Like they would be doing something. And I think it's us spinning our wheels thinking like, okay, well, what would Taimi do in this case? What would Pajiki do? So I don't know. What do you guys think?
I guess I have a similar feeling from this session, just because for me, I felt like the session was very exciting. Like a lot happened. And then when you wrap up, I was like, oh, I only did like 3 things. But like, which is funny because like the session itself felt like stuff was happening. But I guess when you like look back at, what was gained, very little.
Yeah, I mean, I had this problem with last session as well, that like we spend a lot of time doing stuff, but that like nothing results from it. Like we spent like a half hour talking about those white trees, and we like thought about what the lore was. We ended up just avoiding them because of this abundance of caution. And like in my notes, I've taken to just writing like white trees, blah, 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 like nothing happens. We move on. And I think like the description is great and the lore is great, but like, I don't know if I'm explaining that, like, I felt the same thing, Donna. Like there's something happening, like stuff to stuff ratio. Jan, what are you thinking?
Well, I think I might overthink things, but I also, kind of imagining my character being in a world in which death is right around the corner. So, like with those white trees, just kind of like, yep, take a step forwards and guillotine. Where it's kind of like, well, she could survive. She could very well like dig through the dirt and find something really interesting. But I guess that's where my brain goes often, is like, put your desperate energy into things that you have to face rather than things that you don't have to. But that's okay with me. I guess another way to look at it would be, don't go digging for trouble. But definitely there's a balance. In the last game that Donna and I played with some other folks, with Jason, there was somebody in the group who was just constantly like, I'd touch it. Stick my finger into it, and I'm like, no, he ended up with his face burned by acid, but he also found more cool shit than the rest of us.
And it was very entertaining. Like,
It was very entertaining.
Let's not undersell the fact that like that was and JP knew that it was dangerous.
Oh yeah.
Like, this is what my dude would do, and this is fun. So I'm just gonna do something crazy.
Yeah, it was absolutely entertaining.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
I think the whole like the fear of death thing in games is really interesting because like we as like humans, I'm just gonna speak for me. I have a healthy fear of death. If I saw any of this stuff, I turn the other way. And like, for me, that is like the ultimate role playing step is to be like, okay, I'm not afraid of death.
Right.
It's like a very weird, it's a very weird thing to cross. It's a very weird thing to ultimately, when I talk to people about this, what I always say is that like, I trust the story, like, for me, the worst case scenario is not my character dies. Like, that's not the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is that I have a bad time and that it's a bad story. And death is a part of this story. I would rather run through 3 different Taimis and have like, I would rather do that than like, I don't know. Yeah, but that's just me.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. I like that.
I also like, if I am to face something, I trust Jason to like, not unceremoniously kill me with like a buzzsaw booby trap,
Yeah. Sure.
Like I don't think that the magnet stone is going to kill me, but if it does, it's going to be in a way that's satisfying and like resonates in a narrative sense.
Absolutely. And I especially appreciate how you play your character and how you perceive that she would go through the world in kind of a bold, perhaps overly lucky kind of a way. I think that's great. It's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, I just sensed friction tonight. And I just wanted to like talk about it. And I actually would rather have not done it on recording, but
Oh, sorry. Like, I can totally edit it out if you want.
okay.
I do think that people would be really interested to hear this part of the conversation because it's the kind of
I'm
thing.
okay.
I mean, I'm not the only one on the conversation, so.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Jason.
no.
I didn't feel like it was friction. I thought it was a cool, or maybe there was more friction at a different point, but in the discussion of whether to leave or whether to enter the different tunnels,
Mm-hmm.
I liked that you were pushing back on what Paiviki wanted. I thought that was kind of cool that was happening in the game. And then I was also surprised that Mirren like wanted to explore or like wanted to do more like, I don't know, it felt like that created an opportunity for Mirren to go like, oh, I do agree with Paiviki, but also Taimi has a good point that there's something wrong and we don't know what's going on. So we should like, we're here, right? Like no one knows what to do. And so for me, that created like the opening of like, for Muirin to like do something that I wasn't thinking about previously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Allowed you to, by them having that conversation, you could react to it. Like it gave you information that you could,
Is that the friction you were thinking about or was it a different one?
Yeah, I think it was that, and like some of those moments that we were talking about at the beginning of this talk, when Jason would, when Annika has to be like, "What's that? Do we go this way?"
Yeah. So, John, is it fair to say that part of the friction you're describing is action versus inaction? Like the friction of like wanting stuff to happen, but then being kind of talking it over too much.
I guess, but like, I don't want to say action, capital A, Arnold Schwarzenegger action.
Yeah. Doing something versus.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I mean, I think that, from my perspective, I am loath to like make people do anything they don't want to do.
Yeah.
And I don't, it's really interesting in a role-playing game how in some degree it's about negotiation and understanding what the other people want out of it, and like trying to reach a mutually agreeable kind of evening's entertainment or whatever. And I'm super into what each of you are bringing to it, and the different perspectives and the different ways that the characters emerge, and all that is really, really, really great. And I think that I can do some stuff to so one of the things I do is if I say, what do you do? And it's an open question to all three of you, that puts everybody in a weird position to be like, well, who's going to break the silence, right? It's much better to address you individually, to say what do you do? What do you do, John? What do you do, Jan? That helps. It's much more directed, and then one person can respond to that. So I can work more on doing that more pointedly. And I think that would probably help move things along that way, right? And I can say what do you do? Whatever you say right now is what happens, especially in a tense situation, right? And I think that worked a little bit when I said, okay, tell me exactly what you're doing right now. And then each of you said what you did, and then that gave us this kind of setup. I think and then to some degree, the debate that happens between characters about what to do, I think is really great. Like when Taimi and Paiviki have different opinions within their characters, I think that's awesome. I think that the hard part is figuring out how to compress that a little bit to move on to the next thing. And I think that's a pretty, it's a tough challenge. And then the complicating factor being that character death is on the table. And yes, ideally, you want people to behave the way their characters would behave, but some characters are going to care more about staying alive.
I want to reiterate and go back when I was talking about me role playing and fear of death and anything. I respect you three so much as role players, and I just never want what I'm saying to be construed as I wish you were role playing like this. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. I really. This is the game that I do every week for role playing. The other two games that I do are just total, just dungeon crawling. I do silly voices and stuff, but nobody
appreciates.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. I've been doing a German accent for 3 weeks. Nobody cares.
Oh man.
Aww.
But I really respect, and I just I just wanted to maybe just have a conversation and just talk through whether how people feel about these sort of interactions and stuff like that. Anyway.
Can I say something?
I think, it's good.
Go ahead, Donna.
No. Go ahead.
Oh, I just, I do appreciate also the interaction of Paiviki and Taimi, and just I think it can be cool that they have different ways of being. And I think there can be a cool rivalry with those characters.
Yes.
And I'm fine with it if you are. But I know there's an awkwardness in terms of well, yeah, but what do we do?
Yeah. And I never wanted to feel like John Chadurjan is in a rivalry with Jan Berger. Right. It is Taimi's inadequacies and her need to prove herself that spurn her to challenge and to want to push the envelope and want to go further. And in some ways Paiviki brings that out in her because she's Paiviki the Great,
I think that ideally if we can work it, it's good dramatic fodder to have characters that disagree with each other.
Oh, well, that scene that we just had with Topias was so good.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet boy.
But in terms of not speaking up, I think that that can be a little bit awkward of let's move forwards. I wonder, I like what you were saying, Jason, and I also wonder if it sometimes might make sense to have just one of the characters just totally take the lead and they say what the group is doing until somebody says, no, I don't do that. Somebody shouts from the back, hey, wait.
Yeah. But I think that as long as we have a conversation, at the beginning of a chunk of exploration saying we're going forward with this level of caution, or just Muirin take the lead, and then whatever, Muirin walks to the end of the room, Muirin walks, da.
That's actually great. What if we do that where we just, every time you go on you say so-and-so take the lead, and given the situation, it might be a different person from time to time. Right now, Mirren's the default scout because Mirren is the most perceptive, but like that seems that could be cool because then Mirren would decide, and then if Mirren doesn't know what to do, could consult. But that could be their choice, right? And then like Jan was saying, then other people could interject or object if they disagree. But that would help move things, I think.
Yeah, I think sometimes when I was saying things like I want to inspect the ruby, the gemstone, or like I want to go to the other, like what's on the other end of the room, you would then be like, so Taimi leaves the group and goes to the other end of the room, you know, like, and in my head I kind of imagined us just like
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah.
No, this is good. This is good.
Okay, great. Well, so then let's just, in terms of like utility moving forward, we'll just assign or elect a leader for a given segment, and that person will decide, make those sort of choices of navigation and whatnot, and then, and if there's like a tense situation, I'll try to like, I'll give you time to discuss or things, but then I'll sort of draw a line and say, okay, what do you do? And I'll call on you specifically so that there's not this kind of open question to the whole table.
Yeah.
Donna, did you have another thought before I started speaking?
I think I was just thinking of, because I also rarely act, and I was just thinking like, I like that it's sort of like the inaction like built up to a point, because I remember like for time we spent like 3 weeks just like 3 sessions just like talking, and I guess I feel surprised that like that it didn't happen that this conversation didn't happen sooner. But of course, I'm not going to bring it up because that's me. but yeah, I would totally be into like more acting first before like thinking. But yeah, it does feel like, I feel like there's aspects of the game where like if you're not planning ahead in every like move, then you like aren't prepared. And so I don't really know how to, like, if you're not like, oh, I scout the room to sense like the danger or whatever, then that's my feeling on how the game works, is that like then you'll like actually miss a clue of how to like save yourself from a certain danger or something. But maybe I'm thinking about the way that danger presents itself differently.
I mean, I think a good baseline for role-playing games, this kind especially because it's about like, it's pseudo-simulationist in the sense that like there's, a somewhat living world and you guys are exploring it at your free will, like going in whatever direction you want. I think that a good baseline is, what would my character do? Right? Like when Mirren enters a room, and you totally did that. Like, hey, I have this new thing, I have sense danger. And right now I'm like, is this a scary, is this a dangerous place? And you just do it.
Right.
I think that's sort of the baseline. Is like you just look at your traits, you look at you think about your conception of who your character is. Sometimes that lines up with who you are as a person, but sometimes it is different. Like John Chad is very different from Taimi. And then if you just start there, that's like a good starting point, and not to worry about the, just think like, okay, here I am.
Did I scout the room first? Yeah.
Yeah, those sessions that we've had that were more talking, I found them very fruitful because I felt like a lot of great narrative stuff was happening. This session is all about, like, literally, I think all told, once you enter these caves, less than probably 15 minutes passed, right? Like, you didn't cover a lot of ground, but like time kind of slows down when you get into this kind of situation, and it gets kind of potentially tense and more dramatic. And in that context, talking feels a little bit at odds with what's supposed to be happening in the world, right? Whereas when we have sessions that last weeks of game time, it's like kind of, all the talking kind of adds to it in a way, because there's not any like really critical decisions that are being made, right? But here you are in a situation where lots of critical decisions are being made. So I think that's one of the reasons it hasn't happened. We haven't had this conversation until now, is because aside from going into the Beast's Cave early on, this is the first time that it's really gotten this kind of moment by moment.
And I think that there was like a level of urgency because our kin, there was this idea that like our kin could be dead.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that contributed to it.
Yeah, but that's narrative. So anyway, I hope I didn't come off as too much of a Debbie Downer.
No.
I just like, yeah, I very much like you all as role players and gamers. And so I think with other, some other groups, I would have just been like, well,
that's
no German accent for them, I guess. But I just thought we'd talk about it.
Great, thanks,
Awesome.
Jonathan. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's what's great is now that we've talked about it in the future, like we can just say, okay, I'm going to ask you what we're going to do. Here, who's your leader? Da, da, da. And we can, this is all about us figuring out what our play style as a group is, and figuring out what tools we have that can help. We want to maximize all the good stuff that everybody brings to it and the most enjoyable stuff, and then kind of figure out ways to kind of cut through the stuff that's I don't know. I mean, not even cut through stuff. But anyway, we can kind of streamline things a little bit, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly, a lot of that's on me in terms of like figuring out, how to guide stuff. But I appreciate you guys taking some responsibility for that as well. All right.
Yay. Great maps.
Yeah, great job on the map,
Really
Jason.
terrible
I went through-
corpse piles.
Was that like an option on the drop-down menu? Headless
It was.
file?
I went through every goddamn map program I could find because I just wanted something that was pretty easy, and a lot of them are pretty involved. And this was just like you could just paint the tiles, and I was just going to do a raw map with no object because they all have like these 3D objects, like very, very detailed. And I was just clicked on the objects to see what was available, and they were just like, piles of skeletons. So I was like, cool, I can throw those in there. And that was great that was the first place you went because it was like this creepy, it was a good kind of creepy vibe that was set up.
Yeah, it totally did set that up.
Yeah, it's fun. I don't usually do like super developed maps, but I've been using my dungeon generation thing to make this stuff. And it's been fun to go through that whole process and then narrow it down to what does it actually look like as a place to explore. It's an interesting experiment to get specific.
Cool. And then like all that rolling, you were plotting for what happens next in the dungeon? Or is that like too secret to...
John Chad might have an inkling of what that might have been. Do you have any guesses, John? What was going on there?
Magnetic rock? Like, did that all generate like gemstone and magnetic rock?
No. The magnetic rock was already there.
Oh.
Most of this dungeon has been pretty carefully plotted out because I wanted to understand it, and I wanted it all to make sense so that I could understand what was happening behind the scenes. I guess I won't tell you what those rolls were because that would give away too much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if it was just for the magnetic rock, it would have been much fewer rolls.
I was gonna say, Jason, you got to work on that system. All that
a ton of rolls, yeah.
Pool of blood.
You gave me, let's just say now that you generated some material, which now I can work with before next time.
Cool.
Yeah, it seemed like it was more than just what was in those treasure bags. There was something else going on there.
Yay. Well, we're going to find out.
Yeah,
next
I'm
week,
pumped.
maybe.
I know it's late. Thanks for staying later, guy.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. Thanks. Good conversation. And I'm stopping now.